Tabor. Really going to quickly touch on last night before we get into this Tuesday slate. I didn't play many lineups, and I actually felt really good about my big buy-in lineup, which was about 80% of what I played last night. And I had no thought that it was impossible for me not to cash, even after Jokic and everything. Going into the fourth quarter of the last game, I was 20 points ahead of the cash line, and I ended up missing by, I think, a quarter of a point or so, or something like that, maybe a point. And it's like literally like the 9th bubble in the last couple weeks. I'm just really tired of the big buy-in bubbles. So that's my brief frustration, but I felt pretty good about the process, and ended up having to be Jokic and Luka together. That was what won all the money. So but we're on to tonight. And Sheets, how did you do, and what do you think about the slate?
I was fortunate enough to not have to worry about the bubble. So I didn't have any issues. Just a couple of things, lessons from last night that I would impart. First of all, and I've talked about this a lot. Just when you think that a team is like just throwing a game, okay, the guys that get put to task to pick up for everybody, they just outperform like all the time. It's not always enough, but it was. And you knew it was going to happen. Like if you faded Jokic and it's like they're down 15 in the first half,
then you're dead.
That's the end of the story. That's pretty much the end of the story. The other thing is that you had those late non-starter announcements with Trace Jackson Davis, as well as I forget who else.
Bruce Brown started,
and Bruce Brown starting or whatever it is. And just be around for late, and Pritchard, just be around for late swap stuff, and that's the other thing. And the other thing I mentioned with respect to Luka. So as I told you guys, I didn't have much of any of these guys, Jokic or Luka. So obviously you know how I did, and it was funny. Luka's team was up by 35 points going to the end of the third, and he had like 65 fantasy points. I'm like, all right, at least I know that he's not going to be into the fourth quarter, and I don't have to worry about it. And they just trot him right on out there in the fourth quarter. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, like, I don't root for anybody to get hurt, but what are they doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, he didn't get 100, which he probably could have. But no problem, because like you said, and you thought about this, you said, well, you know what? Maybe you should just play both of them, like Luka and whatever, and just kind of make it work. Grady Dick smashed hard,
Bruce Brown did too.
Bruce Brown did too. And we forgot about him. I played a lot of Bruce Brown once I saw him start. I forgot that it was like Bruce Brown going back to Denver. You know what I mean?
I remembered that, but I didn't know if they would let him play the minutes. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that was good too. So yeah, no, not good. Just again, because this is why you play other sports, is you always have a shot. I ended up solo taking down the tennis slate yesterday.
Let's go
for 10K.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, it didn't finish until like 2 a.m. But it paid for the other stuff, to say the least. So that was good. And tonight it's a late start, and I'm not going to be around. I may be able to show up for like 15 minutes, and then I'm going to be out of here because I have a 7 o'clock dinner. And it's a weird slate because as I share my screen, there's still news that's waiting. That we're waiting on. Boston again. You don't know what they're going to do. And the good thing is, as far as I'm concerned, at least I think the 7:30 game you could probably avoid. But I guess we'll get to that right away. But Washington, Memphis got stuff. OKC's got stuff. Houston's got all kinds of stuff. And then Boston, we don't know what's going to happen there. Not to mention, the late night hammers of top projected scorers. So it's an interesting slate.
That's for sure. But let's go through it and see if we can't find whatever we can, at least as an early look. All right, so we do have the first game 7:30, and as you mentioned, live at 6:30 Eastern. I'll be there, and I'll be in a place. But yeah, I'm sort of inclined to agree with you about this first game. The only thing I think they will let Maxey play the minutes, and I think you could definitely make an argument for Jalen Brunson. But I don't think I need to do anything here. Certainly nothing I need to do, but I do think that the price on Maxey is tempting, and Jalen Brunson has a ceiling. So those are the two that I would consider from the first game as of right now.
Yeah, I built like 50 lineups, whatever, and I have like, what do I have? I have like 8% of Dante DiVincenzo, and that's it. Like the whole this whole game. Just a note, I think OG Anunoby's got a shot to come back today.
Yeah, I think he will.
And so that, that even further dilutes the possibility for other Knicks being viable. So I'm probably considering that all the stuff that could happen these later games, I'm probably just off it.
I get it. All right, let's get on to Washington. Was it Washington, Memphis? Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. Between Washington, Memphis, Houston, like these are the teams right now. And news came in the last hour that Rashad Holmes is out. So that's going to, spur the same debate we had before about what they're going to do with the 5. I just presume that they're going to do what they did before and just start, Kuzma and Demi and Denny and not do any funny business really at the 5 and let Kuzma get the run at the 5. Memphis is not particularly good. So I think that those guys are very, very solid here, like Kuzma, Demi, Koulibaly, like that. And then I'm always down for some Tyus Jones. And then on the other side of this, I mean, these Memphis guys are showing up in builds right now too. There's Jake LaRavia, Gregory Jackson, even Trey Jameson. I don't like playing Luke Kennard, but he's like kind of showing up in Aldama. So like right off the bat, I mean, this is a pretty stackable game. There are other teams that we have to deal with, but this is you could do worse than playing a bunch in this game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that they'll probably do that as well. The only thing is, I'll just remind, like, keep an eye out for the starting lineups because if Omoruyi starts or something like that, that could be something you want to do.
Yeah.
But I would say that of the plays, I think Kuzma is a terrific play. But if you're not going to play him, I think I would want to have like one of Avdia or Tyus Jones or Jordan Poole. Like I know that's a big group, and I would rank them in that order. But I think they're all interesting enough. And I definitely want, one of them, but I think it's probably Kuzma or Avdia for me. And then I like Koulibaly, and Koulibaly followed by Kispert. So as of right now, I think like Kispert, Koulibaly, and Kuzma, you could argue you could play all 3 in the cash game lineup basically. And Trey Jameson on the other side, along with Gregory Jackson. Jameson, I would want him starting. LaRavia is always one I have a hard time pegging, but he's been really good lately. So I guess that would be the next one to go to, and then Aldama. But I think Jackson and Jameson I have is a little bit better than the rest of them as of right now. But I agree.
They let him in. Jackson had a pretty nice game. They let him in even in the blowout run the other day. They put him back in. So I guess they want to give him minutes. One other thing, I forgot to mention. I knew there was another guy I wanted to touch on from yesterday, and that was the Toronto guy. What was his name? The Freeman Liberty.
Yeah.
So I'll shout this to Josh, from Stochastic. He made a really good point about this, and it's important to know the differences between the tournaments. So when they have these $4 tournaments, when they have 150 max, whatever, while it's very, very important to be a late swapper, the fact is that in $4 buy-ins, people are not late swapping as much as they should. So when you have a situation like that, when you have that guy who gets ruled, who's projected for, he's been owned based on him being a starter, and then they announce that he's not starting. In that particular tournament, he's just going to be just 2 owned still. Relative to his chances. Like if you want to still play him in other tournaments, because listen, now he's not starting, he won't be as owned or whatever it is, and realize that he's just not as good of a play, I think that's fine. But in like the real like casual type tournaments or the tournaments where it's a smaller buy-in, I think it's more advisable to just kind of get off of him in situations like that.
Yeah, I actually agree, and I was shocked that in the 777, I didn't have him, but I made sure to look to see what his ownership was, and I think he was like 43% owned, and I was kind of shocked by that, to be honest with you. I thought that was way, 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 way aggressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those the things people see all day, they sometimes stick with when it comes, especially as it comes to value, and And I think that it's a good point. We've got to always be ready. And I kept trying to make it yesterday. Just look out for the starting lineups. There's a lot of speculation on these things, and it's not like Sam Hauser was fine, but if you played Hauser over Pritchard and you had the money left to play Pritchard, you made a big mistake. You know what I mean? So we want to just keep an eye out for that kind of thing, and it's going to keep happening at the end of the year more and more. So I'm already missing the days of just the 7 o'clock to the 8 o'clock games. Now we keep having these 10 o'clocks, which get confusing because every single level, it feels like a different starting lineup that came out than was projected yesterday.
Yep.
All right. So Indiana and OKC.
Yeah. So we have a pretty major questionable tag here on Jalen Williams. He says present for shoot around. Okay. Wearing ankle braces, moving well, on track to play. Okay. So that's not as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. So good matchup for OKC, right? But I'm not really getting to any of them. I mean, Jalen Williams, I guess if he plays, I like him. The Indiana side, I mean, again, not a great matchup on that side. I guess Miles Turner's okay. And the guy we have to keep talking about who just, not every once in a while, like TJ McConnell puts up numbers every once in a while. And it's an uncanny ability to do so when no one's playing him, really. And so if people chase him today, probably going to fade him. It's like I have to just kind of see how ownership kind of plays out. I mean, right now I'm seeing 15% ownership or something, even more. I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, because listen, he's got a range of outcomes, he's got a range of minutes. He's not going to go 8 for 12 and 13 for 15. You know what I mean? Like all too often. So
right.
That's something to think about. But aside from that, Jalen Smith, I guess at 4K isn't the worst play in the world. But I think there's other teams that are in better spots.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of weird. I wanted to have some excitement about this one, and I just am having a hard time with it because I feel like it's a good game environment. I actually don't. I think it's good for Indiana too. I mean, OKC will completely. They'll play in those shootouts as well. So I guess that like McConnell, either Toppin or Smith, I guess makes some sense. I do like the price on Siakam at 7,300. And I know it hasn't been happening lately, and especially since Siakam's been there. We haven't really seen that Halliburton game in a while, and this feels like at least an opportunity where you might need it all. So you maybe you get it. So I have like mild level of interest, but by the end of the day, I might be playing Halliburton if he's really going to be like 2% owned or something. And I liked the guy I used yesterday. He almost had a monster game. The Brandon Miller ended up like 5% owned, and he put up 41 or whatever at 7K, but he looked very easily like he was going to get to 50 at one point. And on the OKC side, if Jalen Williams is in, I actually think Jalen Williams and Shea are probably my two favorites. I don't really think I'm getting to anything else. But I would put in that I think Chet has a ceiling here, and we've seen bigs get after Indiana quite a bit. So I don't mind the idea of maybe going with a sneaky Chet or a sneaky Halliburton in this game, but I don't have anybody prioritized in a game that I thought I was going to be more interested in than I actually am.
So San Antonio and Houston. So one of the things that I did, so again, things weren't going so well for me. So I kind of like swapped into some weird stuff, and I could have been a hero. I played Jeremy Sohan. He was literally 0.8% owned. And he had 34, which was fine. If they played in the fourth quarter, he would have gotten even more. But that was a stab I kind of had to take. So you have Sengun basically out for the year, and it's going to spark this discussion about Houston bigs until it kind of works itself out. So I don't know who they're going to start, what they're going to do. I'm inclined to not play like Jeff Green if he starts and is chalky. I mean, every single time this happens, he just literally has never gotten there. And not only that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like I guess all the way down here, he played 30 minutes and one game. You know what I mean? Like is good enough. And he's old. I don't know about that. maybe Jack Londale at 4,800 if he gets a start. Maybe. You know what you're supposed to do when you're playing against Wembanyama, just for entertainment values, to start Boban. just
for entertainment value. Yes, absolutely.
That would definitely be entertaining for sure, and I would definitely play him, but I don't think he plays anymore. But we'll see. But all these Houston guys are looking like the best plays on the slate. You have Dylan Brooks, Amin Thompson, Jabari Smith. That's one I can get down with. You know what I mean? As a big. So Jabari Smith, I guess, would be my favorite, and then Thompson, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet. I mean, I'm getting a whole bunch of all those guys. And San Antonio side, I'm not really getting much. Like, we have to watch for Vassell again. But what do you think of these Houston guys, I guess?
Yeah, I think I'm curious to see what they do starting wise, and I think it's going to depend on what happens with Wemby if he plays tonight. I think Amen Thompson is the easiest. He's the one I'll prioritize, and I think that you would just be playing him in cash games. The price is good on Brooks, and I'm probably going to tag him too. But I do think this is the kind of chalk that can be fadeable. They've all gotten a boost, as they should, without Şengün. The most natural thing seems to me to play if they play Jabari at the 5, to play Jabari. If they play him at the 4 and they play some like Londale, I think I'll probably play Londale. And then if you pick between Jalen Green and VanVleet, for me that's going to be VanVleet, and Jalen Green's going to be the lower owned, and I think that's where you go. But Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks, I think, are the two massive. Well, the two that stand out as being massive chalk, and that I think you put as your early priorities as of right now. But again, the Brooks thing might be something I decide to try to fade a little bit later. I don't have anything naturally on San Antonio, with assuming that Wemby and Vassell both play. If they're out at all, I think we go back to Keldon Johnson, Shohei. I'm sorry, not Shohei, Sohan. Sorry, I've been around too many Dodger fans lately. And potentially Trey Jones. But as of right now, nothing for San Antonio for me. All right. And next up, you have Boston, Utah, right?
Yep. So, again, they have a whole bunch of questionable tags. I presume that Horford's going to be out. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, sort of safe. I think it's safe to presume that, well, I shouldn't say that, but I think I would think Porzingis is in, but who knows?
I'm sure Porzingis probably play. Jaylen Brown is out, by the way, along with well, they're both doubtful, Jaylen Brown and Horford, which I'm going to treat as out.
Oh, Jaylen Brown I didn't even see that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and they're going to let Tatum play back to back?
He probably will. That's what I was saying last night. I would be surprised if he doesn't, because he, at least in his mind and his circles, he wants to win as many games as possible and win the MVP, and he's not going to win the MVP. But I think that first team All NBA means a lot to these guys too, and he's really been putting in the work. So he'd be the one I expect to play from yesterday, personally.
So I guess I do like Porzingis and Tatum, but now with you're telling me that Jaylen Brown is out. I mean, we're back to well, Derek White.
If he plays,
if he plays, Hauser again. It's 9 o'clock game. We're just gonna have to wait if we can. But like I said, there's some plays.
Yep.
Utah. I think Walker Kessler is fair enough. 4,900 at center, and that's pretty much all I have from Utah.
Yeah, I don't even know how to rank the Boston stuff until we get stuff later. As of right now, if everybody played, I think Porzingis is a pretty good play. Actually, I think that's just a good play anyway. But I think Drew Holiday is reasonable, and I just want to see if Derek White's playing or not, because I actually like Hauser tends to play pretty well without Jaylen Brown, and I think that's a spot I definitely don't mind going after. You get Hauser at 1/3 the ownership of Dylan Brooks. I think that's totally reasonable. So and they're the same price, same position. So that's how I look at it. But I'm going to prioritize somebody from Boston. I just can't do it yet because I just don't know how to. Like I don't know how to do without having any idea of who's going to be at least at shoot around this morning. Also, it's a back-to-back going into Utah, so you think the game will probably stay closer. But it is weird to see Boston playing Utah, and the spread is like, what, 5.5 or 6 right now? Let me just double check that. Yeah, it's like I guess it's 7 on. I guess it's 7. I guess that's weird. One sports book has it at 5.5. Yeah, I on Utah. I might have a little more interest in this side than you do. I think that I'm kind of surprised by this projection. I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm missing here. For some reason, SaberSim has Keontae George at 38 as a
Huh?
projection. That seems like a massive, massive projection, like
Yeah, I don't have
as
that.
a median. I don't know why they have that, but he has been like, I mean, he's put up 38 or more in 3 out of the last 4. Actually, all the last 3 that he was healthy enough to play. He definitely has a range of outcomes, and there's a lot of speculation with this guy. Just for everybody out there, like there's a lot of people saying like this is the draft that you might look back and just think Keontae George was like, how the hell did we get a top 15 player in the NBA? He's got some moments where he looks like a future superstar. So I like Keontae George. I would use him as my run back with Boston. If I didn't use him, I would probably go with the normal either Sexton or Clarkson, but
Yeah.
probably Sexton. But these projections I think are a little fishy. So I'd like to try and revisit this one later, especially because we don't have the Boston news. And that projection just at 38, and they even have Sensabaugh at 27. I just think these are these are projections that with SaberSim sometimes early in the morning, you'll notice a couple hours after shoot around, they tend to level out some of these, and I think these are going to get leveled out because they seem way too high to me at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the Kessler idea that you threw out. All right, do you have the Minnesota Clippers or the other one?
No, I have Milwaukee,
Oh,
Sacramento, and it's fun. You know what I mean? Like you have the two highest projected scorers on the slate, and you can get to them. I mean, I'm currently getting to like 10% of both these guys, Giannis and what's his name, and Sabonis. And listen, the more value that shows up, the more you can get to them. So I like that. And I'm not really getting to, I think, too much else from this game. You like anything here?
So I like Giannis. If it was a smaller slate, and maybe not, maybe I'm just going to ignore this and just say, you know what, this is the kind of plays that I used to make and that made me a lot of money. I think Damian Lillard is a really good play here. And again, the Bay Area kid. I know it's not quite the Bay Area, but it's close. He's been pretty unbelievable. He's put up 64 and 55 his last 2 games. He's 54 2 games before that as well. All the tough matchups, he's been much more aggressive offensively. And I can talk myself into playing a 1% on Damian Lillard at less than 9K. His usage has been over 30. In fact, in these games lately, his usage in a couple of games has been almost what Giannis is. The difference is you get the Middleton factor being back possibly tonight or probably tonight. So it's gonna make it look like a totally impossible play to make. I just think that it's an interesting tournament dart to take. And if Middleton's out and we hear that early in the day, you still might have the same low ownership on Lillard. But I think he's a really interesting tournament play. And his projection to me feels way too low. So I like the idea of playing one of Giannis or Lillard. I don't know if I'll end up there yet, but that is that's what I'm looking at right now in this game. On the other side, I think De'Aaron Fox, and maybe I'm biased because he almost won me all the money one night, and then not playing him won everybody else all the money and cost me. Well, I won money, but I would have won all the money had I played him. This is a good matchup. He's 9,100. Basically, out of his last 10 games, he's put up more than 57 times. I really think De'Aaron Fox, like I mentioned, Lillard at 89. That's something I might consider doing both of these guys, but I actually like Fox enough to where I actually think I might prioritize him. I think 9,100 is so reasonable. This is a team that gives up threes. They don't have anybody to guard the perimeter to guard him well enough. You're going to try Beasley on him. Okay, good luck on that. I think this is a spot where I can definitely go after De'Aaron Fox. So that's my favorite play in the game, with the note that maybe Lillard too. So that might be something I'm doing tonight. All right, now we get to Minnesota and the Clippers. What a good real life game.
Yep. I mean, there is a Q tag on Kawhi. Also, Paul George is questionable. So, and this is one that they don't have to announce till later, just for Max annoyance.
Right.
Unfortunately, like the matchup isn't great, so it's not like if they announce either of those guys out, it's not like you wish you had 100% Harden, for example. It would be nice. On the Minnesota side, I guess you could always play a 2% on Anthony Edwards, but I'm currently not getting there. And I guess Gobert I have some of. Gobert, again, he's questionable. Yeah, I have actually like 20% Gobert right now in current run, so he looks pretty good. And that's I don't think I'm getting too much. Should I be getting back to Kyle Anderson? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not going to probably. So, I mean, so let me just point out that this is, look, we make a lot of things and get some right, get some wrong, but I was saying to everybody about this Naz Reid over Kyle Anderson thing. I made it very clear. I did it every day. That's what I would have won I would have finished second in the big one last week because I specifically just played Reid instead of Anderson. And I think Reid was 5K at the time. Anderson was 4,500. Now Reid has shown that he basically is cat. He's just going completely nuts. And now they make him 7K. It's probably too ambitious. If you're playing, 150, I would definitely have like 5% of it because there will be 0% of it owned with the Naz Reid. And right now, Gobert is questionable. Edwards is questionable. Anderson's questionable. I'm guessing these guys play. They're trying to hang on, trying to get that 1 seed. I don't think they're going to have any real chance anymore. But I don't think I want anything here at the moment. If somebody's out, I'm definitely willing to revisit it because Naz Reid, I know 7K is a crazy number for him and all that stuff, but I mean, what do you want for the guys? What did he just put up? He put up 45 in the last game, 52 the game before that. I'll take that at 7K. I just think that the guy is an awesome fantasy producer and he has these monster games. So as of right now, nothing for me, but if anybody's out for Minnesota, I'm going to probably have to try and find a way to either pull that trigger or maybe find something else that I like. On the Clippers, without knowing about Kawhi, very tough. James Harden is maybe like you play him and speculate that the other guys are out or something. But I'm guessing that they're probably they've played most of the time this season. I want to do something here because I feel like there's without Westbrook off the bench, Norman Powell, I just can't quite find anything that makes enough sense. So as of right now, not really getting to this game, but again, hopefully we'll hear about Kawhi or Paul George news earlier. Hopefully we'll hear about the Minnesota guys earlier. And if anybody's out, I think we just, with the Clippers, we know what to do. If Kawhi's out, play either Paul George or Harden in your lineups. And if George is out, play either Kawhi or Harden in your lineups. And I think that's what we're waiting on. So I want to say what's up to PJ. He says we were a long time ago. I was on that podcast, The Perfect Lineup. They would invite people who were doing really well in the DFS world. So I did an interview with them, and I guess he was on an episode right after me or something like that, or maybe he was before. Anyway, I hope good to see you as well, man. And still grinding out here. Let's see, Travis, I'm trying to, so if people ever say them and when they ask questions or pop things in the chat, just keep in mind, we especially when we're doing the game by game, we're probably not going to see this till a minute later. So I have no idea who you're talking about unless you're talking about the whole slate. But then you said, could you stack them both? I don't know what that was in reference to. So if you have a second and want to re-enter that, please feel free to do so. But I think that's sort of where we're at right now. I think we have a lot of information we're waiting on. Sheets, anything else before we end up getting out of here?
Nope.
Okay. Well, good luck to everybody today. We'll be doing golf and basketball tomorrow. I will be live at 6:30. Sheets is probably going to pop his head in and then have to head out. Let's get after it tonight. So any other questions or thoughts, I'll be in the Discord. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be playing. I've got some family stuff to do all week this week. So I'm probably doing like one lineup stuff all week, except for golf. I will make more than one lineup. Oh, Fox and Lillard was the question. Yeah, I think Fox and Lillard is an interesting back and forth, especially if we don't have Middleton back tonight. Anyway, good luck to everybody.